What is up? My name is Mackenzie.
And I'm Jonathan.
We are husband and wife, and we'd like to welcome you to TerreDice.
And Valentine's Day is right around the corner, which means we've got to have a game all about two-player and romance. So this is Paris, La Cité of Lumiere, one of my favorite games, with the brand new expansion coming soon, Eiffel.
Yeah, that's right. Now this game takes place over 2 phases. The first phase, you're going to place the grid, and then you're going to draft these tiles. And then the second phase, you're going to place the tiles and then take place with these actions over here on these postcards. Now, if that sounds like a game you want to play, then just keep watching. In Paris, La Cité de Lumière, players take turns either placing a tile to lay the electrical grid of the city of Paris or drafting a tile with a building they want to construct in the city. The player's city tiles have 3 possible colors: theirs, the opponent's, and shared spaces. There are also lamps, which multiply points for buildings placed next to them.
Once players have placed all of their tiles, they stop drafting buildings and continue to the next phase, placement. Players take turns either placing a building on spaces with their color or the shared color, or activating postcards, which place additional characters, buildings, and works of art in our growing city.
At the end of the game, you score points for the size of the buildings times the number of lamps they touch. Points equal to the number of spaces taken up by your largest group of touching buildings and your postcards that you activated throughout the second phase. You lose points for any tiles you were not able to place in the game.
In the latest expansion, Paris Eiffel, the Eiffel Tower's construction is complete, and as we climb, we see more and more of the City of Lights, with 8 new postcards that introduce new elements to the game, creating more difficult decisions for player interaction, timing, and strategy. Alright, now folks who've followed us in the past 4 or 5 months know that Paris is one of my all-time favorite 2-player games. This thing is just so dang good. The reason for that is there is so much tension in every decision you make. There's the grid that we're placing where you gotta kind of decide how you want to lay out the shapes for where you can put your pieces. Now she's got my color on her shapes too, so she's gonna tuck me in corners and spread out all my squares so I can't build tiles.
But that part's interesting because we also all share the purple spaces.
Yes,
so you're going to sometimes have to give him a better move just to be able to help you later.
If you do not choose to place a grid piece, you can also draft a tile. So you're gonna draft probably 3, 4, 5 of these buildings that you're gonna commit to playing. If you pick one of these, you have to play it. And you also give up a chance to place a grid piece before your opponent. So it's a big risk when these come out. You gotta make sure that you grab the ones you want, because there's only one of each shape. But then you also got to make sure that you've placed the grid in a way that you can place it. And you also care about lamps because you want to get points from being next to those. So how those get placed is a big deal. And the second phase has just as much tension as the first because you got to race to place those buildings, but also you'll have to forfeit turns to play these postcards. Now you'll get 4 of the 8 postcards and the opponent has a chance at the other 4. But they give you different kinds of activating points for doing different things.
Now, we've talked a lot about this game in other videos, so if you want to hear more thoughts on the base game, you can go check that out. But I want to move over to this new expansion that came out, which I like because it literally just adds more awesomeness to the base game. It doesn't really change up the game. It just gives more fun action powers to play with.
Yes, so they give you 8 new postcards, so that's enough to play a full different one, or you can mix them in with the base game. But they give you a lot of buildings. I really like the Eiffel Tower. It's very neat. The way it works, it takes up 4 spaces, and it will double the value of any lamps that are underneath it. Makes sense, lighting up the city. But then if you have your colored spaces under it, you're gonna get 2 points for each of your colored spaces underneath it. Now, I'm the only one who scores points for the Eiffel Tower, and we know that because my color stamp is on the Eiffel Tower postcard. Now, a couple of the other ones that are really neat, I really like the Arc de Triomphe. I don't know how to say it. But basically, you put this across 2 of your spaces, and it'll bridge the gap in between. Anything could be in the middle. It could be an opponent space, a lamp, whatever. But it'll help you kind of bridge those gaps, and it counts towards your largest building length, which is really neat.
My favorite in this new expansion is the catacombs, which is represented by this skull right here.
Yes.
How the catacombs work is you have to place it on an opponent's color before they place their tiles. So you kind of look at what they have and then say, I bet they're going to place it in this spot because that's the only spot it's going to fit. And so you put your catacomb on their color, and then if they place that tile on your catacomb, you get half the number of points that they got for that. So I thought that was really interesting to be able to think ahead what they were going to do.
I also really like the Notre Dame. So Notre Dame is actually a gargoyle meeple that you put on the rooftop of an opponent's roof. And then what it does is you don't get any points for it, but it will count their building towards your largest building length. So I can bridge the gap between all my buildings with her building in the middle. I really like that. Yeah, the Louvre, basically you put this painting on top of a building and that building is now the Louvre. And then what that means is you score points for every space surrounding that building that's not occupied. So you want a building that's kind of like off by itself.
Really like this game. And what the expansion does, that like it adds more, it makes it even a more beautiful piece at the end of the game. Like with these giant elements adding in, and when you get the Arc de Triomphe in there, it just looks so beautiful at the end. And that's what I like about this game. Like he was saying, the game is full of tension, but it's also beautiful, which is why we recommend it for date night. Because normally when games are like this, they're not created by around this beautiful theme. So it kind of like mellows down the tension and you can kind of relax, but it's definitely gonna very thinky game. Now we memorized all these actions that we talked about here, but the one problem I have with the game is that these postcards, which tell you the action, they do not tell you what these mean. And the graphics are not very clear on what you are supposed to do and what they represent. I understand why they did it, because this game comes in multiple languages and they didn't,
it's like 4 rulebooks.
Yeah, and they didn't want to make it language dependent. But it is not clear. If you're going to do that, make the graphic design better, because it's obvious that the graphic designer meant for the rules to go here, but they aren't there.
Yeah, they just made it like a blank postcard.
Yeah.
And there's no numbers on the other side, so.
Yeah.
Like the catacombs.
You're going to have to play it a couple times and like look at that rule book to understand what these mean, but then you catch on. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to write the instructions on the postcard right here. Jonathan wants to do that. So we're going to go ahead and do that just so it's simple for play. So no big deal. You can do that with your copy as well.
So this game is mostly about the action postcards. They did give you one nice thing though. They give you a score pad. So this game has a lot of different ways to score. So you finally have a way to write it down, which is always nice.
Yeah.
It's a good addition.
Components are beautiful. Art, as the same with the base game, is stunning. I want to be able to, if I had a house and not a small apartment, I'd love to be able to get giant prints of these. They're so pretty. And then the back of the postcards are just as beautiful. Lovely attention to detail.
Love that.
Yeah, very nice for a romantic evening between partners. I think it'd be a great game to play.
All right, now this was Paris, La Cité de la Lumière, and the Eiffel expansion. Now this thing is right around the corner, but what I gotta tell you, Valentine's Day is here, folks. Get this game. Pick it up, go find it now, play it. You're gonna have a great time.
All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe and click that bell so you can be notified whenever we put out another video. And also let me know down below, what is your favorite romantic game? I'm always looking for some for us to play. So we'll see you next time. Happy playing!